Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Stuart Schweigert. Well, all right. Let's take a minute. Everybody stand up, please. Stand up. Shake it out. All right. All right, sit back down, get comfortable, because I got the mic. All right. No, I'm just joking. What a great honor. I mean, thank you, everyone, for this moment. I'm blessed, very lucky to be here in front of all of you, and in the presence of such greatness. I have a lot of pride for Saginaw and Saginaw County and the township and all of you athletes that are involved with it and all the people that make this thing put this thing together, because I know it takes a lot of work. The board of directors, thank you so much for nominating me, and all the voters for voting for me. You know, I do believe that this is probably one of the best classes that this Hall of Fame has ever seen. And from a little birdie told me that I got the most votes, so thank you very much. But again, like I said, I want to really thank Jack Tanney and the Saginaw County Sports Hall of Fame directors. You know, this honor, again, I have a lot of pride for Saginaw, and you know, growing up, I come from a big family. I have 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters. A younger sister, 2 older stepbrothers, and 2 older stepsisters and a younger stepbrother. With like 14 and 15, I forgot count, of nieces and nephews in there. And I have my family here today, and because of my family and the role models that they were, it made me into the man I am today. You know, I want to thank a couple people. First, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Chrissy, in the back. She's filming right now. She was an All-American hurdler at Purdue, and we've been together for 17 years, married for 10, and have 3 beautiful children. Thank you. My daughter, Cameron, over there, she's asleep. That's all right. I have my middle daughter, Emma. She's filming right now. She's me with long hair, so I'm in trouble. And then my son, who was born a year ago, was born 11.1 pounds, 22 inches. His name is Alex, but the girls nicknamed him Chubbs. So his name is Stuart Schweigert. I was hoping for maybe a 6'5" drop back quarterback, but I think I'm going to get a defensive tackle. So, but he's over there sleeping as well. I also want to take a moment to thank my mother, Carol. If you could stand up, Mom. My mom might not know the most about sports, even though she married a man who played college football, had 3 sons that played college football. And I remember we were out playing, I flew her out and we were playing the Houston Texans. And maybe it was the Kansas City Chiefs. And they were driving towards the end of the game, and they got an interception to beat us. And she's in the Raiders section cheering, and my wife had to like sit her down and go, Carol, that was the wrong team. So. But she was always there, maybe not knowing what was going on, but she was always cheering. My father, I'd like my father to stand up. He is Big Stu. Thank you. He is Big Stu, and I'm Little Stu. So I was always known as Little Stu. But my dad was a deputy sheriff for 26 years in Saginaw County and Old Town Gym and Equipment for 31 years. And I can remember going in there and into the county, and him having, you know, the inmates and stuff always talking to him. Mr. Schweigert, can you do this? Mr. Schweigert can do that. And the one thing I learned from my father is it didn't matter if you were the sheriff of Saginaw County or one of its worst inmates. He treated everybody with respect. And that always carried with me, because the impression that people get on some people and don't even know people, I think, is just wrong. And sorry, I didn't want to get emotional either. But for me, you know, and the position that I played, I was really the only white guy around. And I know that's kind of a weird follow-up, but it just went along with treating everybody with respect, no matter where you come from, no matter what your religion, no matter what your economic background is, race. People are people. And if you're going to treat me right, I'm going to treat you right. And that's one thing I learned from my father. So, all right, moving on. Next, I want to talk about my brother Johnny was up there. I want to honor my brother Johnny and Troy, and my sister Lisa and Jenny, and my sister-in-law Lisa Kennelly and her sister Kelly. If you guys could stand up, along with my mother and father-in-law Loris and Robert Liphart, my stepmother Leanne, my very close friend T.C. McLeod, and one of my first coaches, Tom McLeod, if you guys could stand up as well. Big parts of my life, and just like all of you are. And again, half my notes here are just thanking people. I want to thank Terry Boswell, my basketball coach. I want to thank Ron McLeod, my 7th and 8th grade basketball coach. Jeff Rostello, who was my track coach on the video. Brett Forrester, who was my coach in high school, who taught me how to be tough and what it meant to work hard. And one thing that I was big on was goal setting. One thing that made me great was I set goals. I set small attainable goals. And once I established one of those goals, I went on to another one. For football, I wanted to be the best player on freshman level. Once I did that, I wanted to start on varsity as a sophomore. Once I did that, I wanted to be all Valley. Once I did that, I wanted to be all state, and I kind of kept going from there. But the thing that I learned about this area was you had to be tough. It's a great blue-collar town. People put their hard hat on, lunch pail, and they go to work. And that's one thing I prided myself on, was being the hardest worker. And I didn't care what it was. If it was bowling, if it was video games, whatever it was, I wanted to be the best at it. And the teammates that I had around me, they wanted to be the best at it too. And we, at practice, literally would try to kill each other on the football field. And it made me better because I wasn't going to let them take me down, and they were doing everything they could to take me down. And on the track, it could be a Tuesday with a month and a half before a meet, and we're running so hard that we're throwing up and we're cramping, and it just made us better. And that's one reason why, getting inducted into this year, I was laughing when I found out who the team was that I was getting inducted into with. Thanks, Jack. That's a pretty funny joke. It's actually fitting because that team was a great, great team. And I have a lot of close friends on that team. And you talk about 24 college athletes, 10 Division I football athletes, an NBA player, 6 NFL players, 3 Super Bowl champions. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it took all of that to stop one white kid from the township. But I mean that with the utmost respect, because you're only as good as your competition. And those days in basketball and football and track, it was some of the best in the country. I mean, when you talk about Nick Saban, Barry Alvarez, Bob Davies, Joe Tiller, these guys coming to a dual track meet between Saginaw High and Heritage and having 5,000 or 6,000 people there to watch us run was absolutely amazing. I thought I brought a town that at times can be segregated. I thought I brought it together, and those were some great times. And one of my greatest accomplishments was beating Charles Rogers on the 100-meter dash, and really, with no Charles Rogers, there's no Stuart Schweigert, and with no Saginaw High 1999 state championship team, there's no Heritage 1999 team as well. So I take that very serious. I have a lot of pride in Saginaw, and it's always funny when I tell people I'm from Saginaw, they kind of look at me sideways because, again, you don't think of a white kid from Saginaw that can run. It was funny when I was a free agent in the NFL, whenever I went to another team, they always thought I was a light-skinned black guy. So, But my time at Purdue was great. I got to give thanks to Joe Tiller, God rest his soul. I had the opportunity to go out to his funeral last year in Buffalo, Wyoming. Brock Spag, who recruited me, who wrote the lovely letter in the magazine there, was phenomenal. He recruited me out of Saginaw and was my defensive coordinator. One of the biggest questions I get is why Purdue, why not Michigan? And Michigan was a school that I really liked. And I went there, and Fred Jackson was my recruiting host, or my recruiting coordinator, and they took me into this thing called the Smokehouse. And they had the top 5 positions of top 5 players from each position run a 40-yard dash. And at the time, I was a quarterback. And I was a sophomore, and it was only the top juniors going in there, and they put me in to run against the top 5 quarterbacks, and I think I won by like 10 yards on a 40-yard dash. And Coach Jackson scoots me upstairs to talk to Lloyd Carr. At the time, they had just gotten their national championship, so it's his national championships behind him. I'm sitting in there, I'm 15 years old, and he's asking me, would you like to come play at Michigan? Would you like to be a Michigan football player? I'm agreeing, yeah. And then I left and started getting recruited by other schools, and in January of my junior year, I started taking visits, and Coach Jackson calls me and says, well, why are you taking visits? You sat in Lloyd Carr's office, and you said that you wanted to come to Michigan. You can't take visits, you already committed to Michigan. And I said, well, no, I did not commit to Michigan. And he said, well, are you calling Lloyd Carr a liar? And I'm thinking, well, no, I'm not doing that either. And for the next year, they didn't recruit me at all. And during that time, Joe Tiller came in, and the staff that he had, I thought he was the most honest. I thought it fit well for me, and I thought I could play there the earliest. So I went there, had great football success, as you could see. But one of the proudest moments and one of my proudest accomplishments is saying that I graduated from Purdue with a 3.1 GPA in 3.5 years, while being a starting football player. So thank you. Yeah. Then going on and getting drafted was a great moment for me. I had the opportunity to play with guys like Charles Woodson, Warren Sapp, Randy Moss, Rich Gannon, Tyrone Wheatley, Nnamdi Asomugha, Jerry Rice, Tim Brown. And, when I stepped on that field, my Saginaw background came back in. And they were great players, but they were teammates of mine, and I wanted to knock their helmets off, to be honest with you. That's if we're going to step on the field, I'm going to be the best there can be out there. And to do that, you need to work. And one of the things I like to tell is the young athletes when I get a chance to get around them, is people just see the finished product. And I'm sure Lamar Woodley can attest to this, but it's like they think we show up on Sunday and we play in a game, and the rest of the week's an MTV video music shoot or a boat cruise or something like that. But I tell my athletes all the time, during a regular week in the NFL, you talk about the hours that you spend. And in a regular week, you're looking at 112 hours dedicated to football. And I always ask them, out of those 112 hours, how many do you think are actually with football pads on and helmets? And they're thinking maybe 100, this and that. And in a normal week, it's about 5.5 hours with football pads and helmets on. The rest of it is all preparation, hard work, making sure that you're mentally prepared for what's going to happen on Sundays. And that's the separation, is the amount of work that you need to put into it to be just an average high school player, whether that's basketball, football, or track. You've got to put in so much work. And that's one thing I think that I learned at a young age, was you weren't going to get anything done by just kind of floating around. You needed to put your time in, and you needed to do the hard work. And back in those days, again, everyone that's in this Hall of Fame, past and today, they put in the work that it took to be there and get this accomplishment. And it's a lot harder than people think. And one thing too is as an athlete, at least in my era, and when we were coming through as football players, you didn't complain. When you were hurt, you didn't complain. You didn't complain if you were sick. If things weren't fair, if someone beat you out, you worked harder. You didn't go home and you didn't complain to your parent, and the parent didn't call the athletic director, and the athletic director didn't call the head coach and say, apologize to that athlete. That didn't happen. For one, I'm not going to go home and tell my dad that the coach yelled at me, because then I'm going to get yelled at by him for doing something wrong, and then he's just not going to call the coach. And I learned that from my dad. I learned that from my brothers. My brothers played at Northwood. My dad's a Hall of Fame football player at Yankton College. But my family never forced me to do anything I didn't want to do. They didn't try to live through me. They let me pick and choose my sports. And again, though, I go back to that blue collar, my dad owning Old Town Gym and Equipment. And I grew up in there, and that was straight blue collar. Half of the gym was the sheriff, the county sheriff deputies, and the other half were the convicts that had just gotten out, you know? So again, I grew up in a very multicultural environment that, again, made me the man that I am today, and that I'm very proud of, and made me the hard worker that I am today. And you know, now that we've moved my family down to West Lafayette, Indiana, which I'm very happy to be down there. We moved back here to Saginaw when I was done playing for 10 years because I had so much pride for the area. And I would have liked to have stayed here, but an opportunity presented itself for me to have my own talk radio show down there, to be able to talk Purdue football and local sports and that type of stuff. And I thought it was a good move for my family. West Lafayette High School is #1 in the state of Indiana, and always in the top 10 or 5 in the country for academics. And that's what I'm happy to be able to have my kids here today, to again see all of these wonderful athletes up here, and everyone that can say that they're part of this great organization, because again, you know, I've accomplished a lot, you know, playing on Rose Bowl teams and playing in front of 110,000 people and playing Monday Night Football. But the thing I love the most is coming back here and talking about the accomplishments and games that I had against Saginaw Highs and the Arthur Hills and the Flint schools, and the battles I had on the tracks. And those mean a lot to me. And to be inducted into this Hall of Fame means a lot, because these are the people who were here with me when I was just starting, and taught me and gave me the basics to be able to become the hard worker that I am today. And I can't thank you guys enough, because again, like I said, without Charles Rogers, without the Saginaw High football team, without the great teams at Arthur Hill and the Flint schools, I wouldn't be here, because I wasn't going to get beat by those guys. It's my mindset. And on those days that I thought maybe I didn't want to work, maybe I'm going to take the day off, I thought, well, you know, what's Ron Stanley doing? What's Jeremiah McLaurin doing? What's Cliff Ryan doing? Maybe those guys are out working right now, so I'm not going to give them an opportunity to have a step up on me. And that's one thing I bring to my athletes, and whenever I get a chance to talk in front of people, is how hard it is. And it's not even just in sports, it's in life. Life is not easy. Usually bosses don't take to complaining, you know, and I think that gets lost in it. And the other thing that I'm very proud to say is that I am able to stand up here today and give this speech completely clean and sober. And as you know, I've had my struggles. And in 2006, I played the whole season with no air in my helmet when I had 109 tackles. And in my career, I've had 40 to 50 different concussions. And I've been tested in Washington, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, and New Orleans, and there has been damage to the brain. And in the last 5 years, I have had struggles with depression, with anxiety, with some bipolarness. And I encourage anyone out there, as I've been doing, to reach out to my former teammates, because there are a lot of us that do struggle. Like I talked about, you didn't ask for help as a football player. When you're on the field, you didn't tell coaches that you were hurt. You know, in high school, I missed one game. College, I missed one game. NFL, I missed one game, because I took pride in making sure that I was always going to be on the field. And you see it every year, more and more players struggling with it. And it is something that is getting swept underneath the rug. And I do see a therapist. I go once a week. I take my medication, and I looked at it and said that the alcohol is not going to be helping me with any of my brain function. And it's been a struggle, and I can't thank my family and my wife for sticking by me. Because they have, thank you. Because it has been tough. I will admit it has been tough, but again, I've given everything to my higher power, and every decision I've made, bad or good, has brought me to this stand and this podium today where I'm supposed to be at and to give this message. And I love everybody here. I love this town that I come from, even though I'm not here. Anybody that wants my information, please come up. I wouldn't be myself if I wasn't able to come up here and promote my business a little bit. So if you do have an Android or mobile phone, it's 101.7 The Hammer. It's a free app. I'm on 4 to 6 Monday through Friday, and it's a pretty good show. So please download that. But again, thank you so very much. I can't appreciate it enough. I look forward to coming back for future Hall of Fame inductees. Thank you.